Today on our AskReddit, we explored the topic of people who lost their virginity to a prostitute. How did it go and how do you feel about it now? I was in college, depressed, low self-esteem, and kind of overweight. I just wanted to do it. Found a website, arranged it, went there, was nervous at first, but she made it easy. She was very sweet and beautiful, and it was as good of a first experience as I could hope for, except I couldn't stay and snuggle for hours. I did that for a few more years with different women. Most were good experiences but a few weren't, and eventually got less nervous around women. I got quite friendly with one. I helped her out with some photos and website stuff, and we hung out in malls and had dinner sometimes. She was the only one I went to for a year and a half, and was kind of like girlfriend beginner training, now that I think about it. I moved to another country where I didn't know how to get one there, so I just stopped doing it. Got in shape, handled depression better, found women would be flirting with me, and started dating. So it worked out for me in the end, but that isn't the case for everybody. I didn't bad about it since I was 18. At the time, and a co-worker of mine would tell me his adventures in Tijuana and the lovely nightlife. One day I asked if I can tag along the next time he goes out there. He would go mostly every weekend, since he had a girlfriend out there, and agreed. As we were on our way that night, he explained the do's and don'ts and what to expect out of it. He made it clear to take my time and not to rush anything. We had the whole night. Made it to TJ, went to his usual bar, and after 2 hours, I chose one for night. I was so damn nervous. All I've known was just jerking off to porn, and this was going into the real thing. She knew I was nervous, and she put her hand on me and said, "It looks like it's your first time. Don't worry and relax." Well, I kept going to limp mode due to being so nervous. She ended jerking me off at the end. I go back down to my co-worker and he asked how was it. It was fine lol. A week later I end hooking up with my first girlfriend, and not being so nervous I feel good about it, and it was realistically the only way it was going to happen. I had an abusive childhood, My mother would have gotten prison time, and the only form of love I knew was pity. The chance to earn affection was earned in itself, and it was gamble if it paid out. I was taught love wasn't only conditional, but that it's a temporary commodity. Loads of mental shit ensued. I had never been hugged before, and paid for it for 2 hours. Afterwards I dry heaved, but couldn't cry. At least I knew what it was like. Afterwards there was sex, but overall it was a beneficial experience. Parents and the family were away. Walked down to the liquor store late, and got a few pervy classified papers, pocket full of quarters. Called an out call service. A sexy woman came over and it was kinda clinical, but that's okay. She was nice. Still twitch when I smell her perfume. Beyond being a horned up 18, a slightly impersonal experience, the first time made sense to me plus no GF. I appreciate the experience for what it was, and it accomplished what I hoped for. Happy, healthy, pervy sex life now. Was 22 at the time, and I didn't really know how to go about anything. A friend recommended that I try an escort service to build up a bit of confidence, and basically get it out of the way after doing it once per month, for about a year with different people. I got the confidence to just go about life and deal with things as they come. 2 years later, I still don't have a partner, but I'm A. Not even remotely stressed about it. B. Conversations with people in general, not just women, go way better. I don't use them anymore and haven't actually even thought about it since coming across this post. Are you thinking about doing it for yourself up? Or just curious about the experiences of others? I kinda made a deal with myself when I was 19. I didn't have much luck with girls, but I still wanted to save it for someone special. So if I was 25 and still far away from getting a GF, I'm gonna lose my virginity to a prostitute. At that time I thought, I don't want to save myself for someone who's not coming. So in my early 20s, I got my first job, and socially I was doing better. There were girls I was close with but never got further than just friends. Unfortunately, a screw-up led to me getting fired. My next job had 12-hour shifts and had minimal interaction with people, much less girls. And I got pretty closed off socially cause of the tiredness, and also I was still kinda embarrassed of how I lost my previous job. So I was 25, still single and never looked close to getting a GF. When my birthday came, I started looking up sites and forums. Then, I stumbled upon a Japanese girl's post. She was visiting my country and was looking for work. I was starting to get into anime at the time, so I thought why not. Her rates were slightly higher than others, mostly cause I guess she's Japanese, but I had money at the time. So I went to meet her, and she was actually a cute, nice girl. Knows basic English, so was easy to communicate. She actually shared that the person who helped organize her trip and her work got into trouble with authorities after she landed here, so she was kinda lost at it. That person was most probably her agent or pimp, I guess. There wasn't much I could do for her, so I just hear her out. Then, I also talked a bit about myself and why I was doing it. It was funny cause I actually informed her beforehand that it was my first time before we met. But when I told her my story in person, she realized it was my first time having sex, not just first time paying for sex. The way she reacted and got kinda worried about the pressure of taking someone's first was actually kinda cute. Anyway, we did it. Tried a bunch of basic things, but obviously quite awkward from me. But she was nice about it. Afterwards we laid down and talked about anime in Japan. And how she wants to finish university and get into tourism cause she likes speaking English and talking to tourists. It was actually a pleasant experience. It wasn't as mind-blowing as I thought, but still very nice. I still did texted her for a few days after, but mostly to help her navigating the country. When she went back, I lost contact with her. Looking back, I was very lucky to get her for my first experience with a prostitute. Cause the escorts that I've visited ever since had more experience, so felt more professional and commercial. She felt more like a regular girl. How I feel about it now? Well, considering I still don't have a GF now, I'm glad I took the plunge and got to experience sex. Though I'm not ashamed of it, it's also not something I'll easily disclose to people. She was an asthmatist who I got to know through her Discord server. She did sex work, so I decided to save up my paychecks and take a trip to Reno to see her. It was nice, but honestly I was so nervous that I felt I damaged my own experience. I really wish I could do it over again and be more relaxed. Now I unfortunately can't get any, though. So, yeah. 24M here, happened like a month ago. I was obviously kinda nervous. She was great, told me what to expect, that since it's my first time I could come in like 10 seconds, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. A+ for the effort on her part, talked for a bit in between, and she really diluted the awkwardness quite a lot. Now for the actual sex part. She started blowing me, was really nice, kept an erection for the whole time. However, when we tried to go at it, I lost my erection in like 20 SCCONDS nerves plus blood pressure meds plus years of porn addiction. I obviously didn't come. Tried resting, switching positions didn't really help. Oh, and the pain, I'm not in great shape, go to the gym, but mostly cardio. Anyway, my whole body ached like hell during and after, was somewhat awkward trying some positions like legs on shoulders. Nobody told me that the pain would be this agonizing. Again, props to the lady, told me it starts to go away the more you exercise. 10/10 for her attitude and communication, maybe 6/10 for the whole pleasure part. No regrets, I actually plan on visiting her again in the coming days. First sexual experience at 34. I saved up £300 for a 3-hour appointment. While I was on the way, she mentioned her period had come early, so full service wasn't going to be possible, but all other activities were still on the table. When I got there, we agreed to go for an hour, see how it went, then maybe go for another, rather than committing to 3 hours. I specifically requested that we have a cup and talk for a bit, so I get used to the idea of being in such a situation, as I was rather very nervous. After a bit, she laid me on a massage table, and started giving me a massage, then things slowly got more intimate. I had kissed one woman on one occasion before that day, but nothing more. I had my first BJ, and saw my first boobs, and pretty much everything else in that evening. It was great. We went for 2 hours, and I decided the remainder of my money was going to be for the next session, where I would be able to get full service. A few weeks later, I saw her again, and went all the way. I have heard many people say not to do this, as you will regret it. I've also heard many people say they regretted their first time anyway, even if it wasn't paid for, so why should that be an issue? I have zero regrets about it. I felt, and still feel, that I have very little hope of ever finding someone. I've never had a girlfriend, I'm now 38, and all my sexual experience has been paid for. I don't feel ashamed about it, but I understand others don't feel the same, so I don't advertise the fact. If someone straight up asked me though, I wouldn't lie. It was the best decision for me. I was 12 years old. My dad paid for it. September 2nd, 2009. I remember the date because it was Vietnam Independence Day, on family vacation with all the relatives from my dad's side. My older cousins came to my room and asked if I wanted to go get a massage. I was like fuck yeah, ended up being a brothel. I knew I was gay before that point, and I think my dad was suspecting, so I had to power through it with hot men and cocks on my mind. Fast forward to present. Still gay, got married to an awesome guy. Took him home to visit my family in 2019, they love him. I never really had any luck with girls due to my height and boring personality, which causes me to watch a lot of porn and pent up a lot of sexual frustrations. I went to my first strip club at 22 and during my first Vegas trip, and continued to go locally with friends and coworkers every other week. But I needed to feel the real thing. An opportunity arises when my work asks for volunteers to work in Amsterdam for a week. I was 24 at that time and never traveled outside the States. I read online that it was legal there and saw a lot of porn about the red light district. Really? Girls just showcasing themselves in windows asking you to come in. I worked for a week and extended my stay for a day. During my last day in Amsterdam, I woke up in the morning, jerked off, then walked around exploring the city, located the red light district. The funny story here is that I heard weed is legal there, and I never tried it before, which also means I have no idea how to get it, so I went to a regular bakery. I thought any bakery would have those baked goods, and asked for what would give me the lightest buzz. The baker looked at me like I'm an idiot, and gave me the most expensive cupcake on the menu. It was literally a regular cupcake. I ate it and just sat at the cafe for an hour for this buzz to kick in. Anyways, I then went back to the hotel room, showered, ate dinner and went out again. Nightlife was packed. The red light district was packed. And it's true. Extremely good-looking girls naked at the windows stalls. I saw a girl that looked like the girl of my dreams, but I was too scared to go in. There were a lot of people around her when she was at the window. I felt embarrassed to approach, so I walked around more. I came back to the same spot multiple times, but she was always surrounded by other people or she was not at the window. I have been walking around for hours at this point, and my feet hurts. I was about to call it and go back to my hotel room if I see that she's not available. I didn't see anyone there, so I waved at her. She waved back and gestured her hand to ask me to come in. I asked her how much and she said €50 for sex. I paid, then she checked my penis for disease and put a condom on me. I told her it was my first time, so she did most of the work. It was amazing. I lasted for 20 minutes, probably because I jerked off in the morning. I'm not that big, but her moans sounded realistic. I wanted to ask her to marry me, but then I came. I thanked her and went back to my hotel room to scrub down. Reality hits and now I thought I definitely caught STD, and that was on my mind the whole way home. A week later, I went to my doctor and told him I had sex with a prostitute, and he gave me all sorts of tests. I was negative. 10 tenths would do it again. I was 22. I had no confidence and low self-esteem due to my upbringing. At this point in my life, I was becoming embarrassed that I was a virgin. I had a few opportunities to lose it, but I would blow it. Nobody knew I was a virgin. Now I know that I'm above average, but back then I had issues. So one spring, I traveled to Amsterdam. I had no intention to sleep with a window girl. If anything, I thought it was disgusting. But when I arrived and saw them, I was surprised how many gorgeous women were there. On my last night, I realized this was a good opportunity to lose it. I knew my first time was going to be a trainwreck, so why not embarrass myself with a girl I'm never going to see again? So I snuck out and went window shopping. I saw this insanely hot blonde and I approached her. She told me it will be 50 for suck and a lot less than expected. We started suck, but halfway she told me it will cost me another 100 for the rest. At that point, I felt like I was getting robbed. So I gave it to her. So she continued. As soon as we started the last part, I came within a minute. I didn't even enjoy it because of the situation of her scamming me another 100 bucks. What happened next still cracks me up. She asked if I liked it and said yes, but she noticed I was lying. She then called me out and asked what's wrong. You didn't like it, did you? She then told me to get back on the bed. I guess she wanted to redeem herself. So this time she put a lot of effort. But she was too fast that I came again within a minute. I was so embarrassed. And again, she saw it as I was not satisfied. At this point, it looked like she was more hurt than I was. I think I hurt her ego. Looking back, I laugh about it. I should have told her from the beginning that it was my first time. Could have been a better experience for both of us. The next time I had sex, it was nowhere near as embarrassing as the first time. So I'm actually glad I had the experience. I was 14, she was in her 30s. The moment I came in the motel, I went to her room. She asked how old I was, I told her. Then she asked if I'm a virgin, I said yes. Then she proceeded to coach me through it, particularly on how to control my thrust. Then in less than 5 minutes I came. It felt like I was in cloud 9. Went back to her a few times after that until my big brother snitched on me to my mum. She was disappointed in me, the rest was history. Looking back now, that's actually an abuse, cause I was a naive horny little boy taken advantage of by this older woman, who should have chased me away for being underage in the first place. To be honest, it was not what I expected. I was 20, and I have watched a lot of porn, so I had pretty high expectations. It felt okay, nothing out of the ordinary, in my opinion. Just wait till the right time arrives. The girl was pretty sweet, and willing to help me and teach me, but it wasn't what I expected in my fantasies. Believe me, not worth it. Well, never thought something so at home would be here. Here's a long story. I was, hopefully still am, a very attractive person in high school. But I was also very sheltered in a Catholic household and super naive. Lots of girls made hints at me about hooking up my junior and senior year, but I didn't realize because I was so focused on school, sports and video games. Needless to say, I ended up a virgin for a while. All my friends would talk about sex and make fun of who they thought were virgins. I would play along and pretend I wasn't one. Desperate to lose my virginity, I ended up finding out online that there was an area in my town known for its red light district, and wanting to lose my V card ASAP, because that's all my friends would talk about, I went up and down that street, searching for streetwalkers. It was honestly very exciting. I would drive past this street every day on my way home, knowing it was where the streetwalkers lurked. You'd make eye contact with a woman walking down this street. If she kept that eye contact with you 9/10, she was trying to make a buck sucking and fucking. Basically any girl you'd see on this street and be like I'd fuck her, you'd stare at as you passed her. If she made eye contact and turned her head to see if you put on your blinker for the next street, it was a guarantee she was working. After you pull over, you'd wait to see if she walked back to meet you at your car. Fuck. It was honestly the most intense moment ever. Because you honestly didn't know if she was a streetwalker or undercover cop coming to arrest you. Especially if she was an attractive woman. There was no windows down to talk prices. You'd unlock your car and she'd hop in. That's it. The time I lost my virginity, I was almost shaking with anticipation when she walked up to my passenger door. She was attractive, in her mid-30s, definitely looked like she had just started doing this. First thing out of her mouth when she hopped in was, "Are you a cop? You have to tell me legally." I said no, I'm not a cop. She asked me my age and I lied and said 23. She said she knew a place we could go that was private, and I drove there still freaking out, thinking I was about to get robbed wherever we were going. We pulled into a house with a guy on the porch who stared me down as I pulled in. She said, "He's cool, don't worry, just park over there." We entered a basement apartment, definitely her place. She could see I was nervous and told me, "Don't be afraid, there's no one else here," and showed me each room, so I'd relax. She asked me what I wanted to do as she took off her clothes and stroked my dick under my pants. I said, "I want to fuck you." She smiled, laid back and started rubbing herself. I got naked and she put a condom on me, spitting on it before putting it inside her. Her skin was so soft and she pulled me in close, whispering in my ear just like that, "Don't stop," over and over as I thrust it inside her. It felt amazing, but I didn't want to come early, so I tried to slow down. But she kept whispering, "No, don't stop, right there, don't stop, keep going," as she moaned. I came so fucking hard. She gave me a warm wet towel to clean myself off. She gave me her number, and said if I wanted to see her again to text her, and she'd meet me at the gas station down the road. I gave her extra than we agreed on, and she told me that I was her new favorite. Right as I left after it was over, I felt ashamed. I found out in that moment that all the stuff I'd been so obsessed with wasn't that big of a deal. Sex was sex. Instead of sharing that moment with someone I cared about, I had paid to lose it, extra on top. I went home and showered. Panicking thinking I got an STD, I went to the clinic the next day. All clear. But then I went back to the road. It was addictive, exciting. I must have picked up 8 different women on that street. I text the ones that asked me so it'd be easier to meet up. Each one had a different reason for walking, always money related. The best time to go was around Christmas. I felt untouchable, like I had figured out everything. I was an attractive 18-year-old, I wasn't going to be pulled over for soliciting sex. Each girl was afraid I was a cop. I found a parking lot that no one would be able to see what we were doing and would do everything with these girls. I'd ask for a blowjob, which was cheaper, and play with their pussy while they did it, so they'd get horny and want to fuck me instead. I'd fuck them in the ass saying I didn't have a condom and pay them extra for it. I realized that I could literally do anything I wanted to these girls, all it took was money. Finally I started hating myself. One night I'm at one of my regulars' places. Young girl, early 20s with a bad family situation and meth addiction from how her teeth looked. She was one of my favorites, pretty hot girl that literally told me to do whatever I wanted to her, and I did. My personal porn star, I'd videotape her so I could jerk off to it later, and she'd do anything I asked. All of a sudden her boyfriend walks in on us one night. No idea she even lived with anybody, he was a meth head too, freaking out that I'm fucking his girlfriend. He yells at us, pulls a knife on me. She's screaming at him and I'm literally just sitting there naked wondering how this will look to my parents, killed by a meth head because I was fucking his girlfriend. Needless to say, I somehow managed to get the fuck out of there, by apologizing to this guy over and over as I left. No idea what happened to them. But after that I was scared straight. Honestly, thinking back to it now, I'm sad I didn't lose it to someone special, but glad I did what I did because it put a lot into perspective for me on sex. I think back to all those women I paid to have sex with me, and wonder exactly why I did it and why they did it. In the end it helped me have real relationships with my partners, instead of putting so much pressure on having sex with them. Sex was easy, relationships were hard. There was a moment a couple years later when I was out at a college bar, and a super attractive girl was hitting on me and asked me to go back to her place. My friends were shocked and asked me how I was able to pull it off the next day. It's really simple. Treat them with respect and tell them what you want. TLDR. I was an 18-year-old whoremonger, and I have no regrets about losing my virginity to a prostitute. One human family. I was 26. I was tired of not being able to talk to women and putting the pussy on a pedestal. It was ruling my life, and I just had to get it done. I booked a last-minute trip to Amsterdam and found the hottest woman in a window. A 9-tenths blonde. It was pretty uneventful, I enjoyed it and felt satisfied. I visited another lady the next day and that was much worse, so I went back to the original for the 3rd day and left after that. After coming back to my country I visited a few different ones, and I felt more confident. Shortly after I met my wife and never looked back. Overall it was nice for the sexual gratification, but I never formed anything romantic with these ladies, so sex with the person you like love is a lot better, but I don't regret it, it got me where I needed to be. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts below to support the channel. See you in the next one.